Welcome to the Mentor Podcast, where the most highly motivated entrepreneurs come to get their weekly dose of financial stability with host Ron LeGrand, as well as other nationally recognized thought leaders who will teach you how to get, grow, and protect your wealth.
Well, hello, everybody. Another episode of the Mentor Podcast coming up. Ron LeGrand here on a mission to help you make more money and make it quicker and keep more of it and retire very, very wealthy. And I've got a guest on today. His name is Cris Chico. And if you are doing real estate right now, or if you intend to, this is going to be a podcast you need to sit down, listen to, and take notes on, because I mean it from the bottom of my heart. This could be a game changer for you, because Chris's subject today is to help you get all kinds of sellers coming at you using the internet and eliminating all the need to do many of the things that people are doing to generate leads today. So make sure you don't have any interruptions during this one. Cris, how are you, sir?
And I'm doing great. Fantastic.
Okay. Give me a little bit about what you currently do, and then I want to spend every minute we got here going right down the list of what you do and how you go about it and why we should care.
No, not a problem. I appreciate the opportunity. And, I've been in real estate since 2003, and many know me in the industry as being the creator of a term called virtual wholesaling, where I taught people how to find and flip properties anywhere in the USA using their cell phone and their laptop without physically inspecting or meeting with property owners. And historically, I've always gone out and found motivated sellers and found discounted properties using, postcards and using direct mail, as everyone has done in the business. And I've sent out millions of postcards. And what happened is that about a couple years ago, about a year and a half ago or so, a couple years ago, I noticed that just the results that I was getting from my direct mail started to dwindle. And I did the best I could to try to iterate and to try to create new mailing pieces, et cetera. But it just wasn't moving the needle. And, I started to also realize that, everything is moving online. And I started to wonder if, hey, is it possible that I can go out and find motivated sellers, online using the platforms? And through a lot of trial and error, I was able to figure that out. And then now to the point where all of the leads that we generate are from sellers that we find online. And really, I'm really excited because of two things. Number one is that the fact that I think that it's a new channel for a real estate investor, number one, to be able to find deals. But I also believe that every single person in business, and we are in business as an entrepreneur, as a real estate investor, everyone should learn the principles and the mechanics and understand online marketing, because it's here. It's only going to come into play even more and more. So I'm excited just to be able to get everybody involved and learning them and teaching them the ins and outs of online marketing for not only the real estate business, but for longevity.
Before you get going here, let me make a statement. I've been teaching real estate for a long time. And whether you're in the pretty house business or the ugly house business, first of all, Cris is going to get you leads for both of those. But the problem is the quality of the leads. The quality of the lead will determine your success. Now, we provide leads to our Gold Club members, but they are people who advertise online that they have a house for sale. I've always told them, this is the lowest common denominator. This is the worst quality of leads. Okay, there's a lot of them, and we do a lot of deals through those leads. But anytime you can get a seller to contact you, it's a much higher quality lead than anything you do to track down the sellers. So this call today is all about getting sellers to contact you. And so, Cris, why don't you tell us exactly what you do and go right down the list of how to do it, and then I'll throw some questions at you and rudely interrupt you as I see fit.
No, not a problem. Not a problem. So, the primary method that we use in order to find motivated sellers online right now is Facebook. And we chose Facebook, and I'll go over interrupt me or ask questions as we go along. But the main reason we selected Facebook is that the other channels that are available are Google pay-per-click, which is when you go on Google and you somebody types into Google, sell my house fast, then you can show your ads to those people. The challenge is that it's very expensive to be able to advertise in that platform in that way. typically, 75, 50, 75 bucks a click for you to have access to that platform. So
Wow.
when I started this, for me, I thought, well, and I spoke with investors that were telling me that they were paying $200 to $300 per lead. And so for me, I didn't want to go out and fight in that particular arena. The other way to find leads online is through SEO. And SEO is certainly viable, but SEO is a very slow process. It's, hey, get your website ranked, and maybe 6 months, 8 months, or a year, you start geting leads. And I didn't want to do that.
And you can't run a business through SEO if you don't know who's coming in and when.
Exactly. And for me, I settled on Facebook, and that's kind of what I decided to push on. And I always tell the funny story is that the moment I realized that I needed to be on Facebook to find sellers is the moment my mom got a smartphone and she was texting, and her worldview, Facebook was the internet. And I said, well, if my mom's on the internet, then maybe, just so maybe, there might be a few sellers there that we could talk to on Facebook.
Yeah.
So what I want to do is as we're walking through this, I really want to, I want to make this valuable for everyone. So what I want to do is I want to walk you through some things that you can actually write some notes down and you can actually implement, even though we're here without visual. I'm going to walk you through specifically some tips, strategies, and a framework that you can actually, after this podcast is over, you can actually start to begin to implement this.
All right. We might want to tell them that you're going to give them a chance to go see your videos where we spend a lot more time going through these steps and at no cost when we get through with this podcast. So.
Yeah, when we get through this, if you're interested and you want to see more of the visual aspects of what I'm talking about, then I have an additional training that you guys could watch to augment what we're already talking about here.
All right.
So the first step is how do we establish a presence to begin with on Facebook? And the same way that you go out and you build a website, you create a website for your existing business. The way we do that in Facebook is by creating a business page, and they're easy to create. It takes you less than 5 minutes to create a business page, and it's free. Now, the one thing, though, however, that I want to make sure that you take my advice is how you want to present yourself on Facebook. And I've tried this a variety of different ways. I've tested this. I've had my students test this. And always, when you present yourself on Facebook, you're always better off presenting yourself in a personal way, not in a corporate way. In our business, we're small business owners. We don't have the money and the funds to go out and create a massive branding campaign that over time is going to allow people to remember our name. We need to be able to put money in. Yeah, exactly.
You won't live long enough to do it.
Yeah, so we need to be able to take money into the cash register, put it in, take money, put it into advertising, and get money back out.
So personal, not corporate. And frankly, I've been teaching that for years, and you are absolutely dead on.
Yeah.
Personal, not corporate. But let me finish. Nobody gives a rat's behind about what your company's name is. Frankly, your company's name shouldn't even be on this page. They want to deal with a human being, and that's where you're heading, right?
That's exactly right. I always say that it's always a kitchen table conversation. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter the company. They're always you're gonna get that deal. You're gonna be able to do that deal because they feel comfortable that you can help them.
Just so you guys know, nobody even knows my company name until I sit down and write the contract.
Yeah, that's true. That is exactly right. Yeah, that is exactly right. So an example would be an example of what not to do is say you create a business page and you call that page, We Buy Houses Jacksonville, or or Sell Your House, Jacksonville. And then with a little picture of a house. We've tested that. That doesn't work. The approach that works is approach like my page is Cris Buys Houses. If Ron had a page, it would be Ron Buys Houses or Ron Buys Houses in Jacks. And it would be a picture of him, in the little avatar photo. And on the page, he would have...
With my dogs.
With your dog. Exactly. And, on the page itself, you can put images and everything else. He would put images of himself and, all kinds of personal stuff. And he might even have a page. He might even do a quick video on his phone that says, hey, this is Ron. I just bought a house like this. If you're interested in selling your house, I'm more than happy to help you. But again, coming across in a very personal way, that's the approach that you should take, and that's how you should appear on Facebook. And that's the first tip I would give everyone. If you just did that, that's going to help you tremendously.
Yep.
Now, the second thing is really looking at things a little bit differently in terms of how we target. Now, when we're dealing with conventional type of marketing, like say direct mail as an example, direct mail can be expensive. So you really have to zero in and you really have to hyper target precisely who are the prospects that are most likely to do business with you. And so you have to do it because otherwise it'll be very expensive. With Facebook, it's a little bit of the opposite, where you actually have to go wide. And so you have to think about it in terms of your city. So for example, for you, Ron, let's say you might have, 2 or 3 neighborhoods that you like to invest in the city of Jacksonville. However, for the purposes of advertising on Facebook, we would want to target the entire county.
Just to answer that, Chris, I want to target people when I'm trying to pull them out of the crowd. But I'm telling you right now, we'll deal with anybody who wants to call us with a house for sale. We don't care where they're at in Jacksonville, and we're in a city of 1.5 million people. Yeah.
Right, and so Facebook now works better when you give them a wide audience. When you give them a wider audience, you're going to pay less for your leads, and you're also going to give Facebook the opportunity to go out and find your best prospects, because Facebook has a lot of data. People, tend to get finicky about that. They say, "Well, gee, Facebook, knows so much about us," and you can take there's different sides you can take to that. The side that I would ask you to take is take the side of a business, of you being the advertiser. All that data that Facebook has is really for the purposes of us as an advertiser being able to target our prospects properly. So Facebook knows if I go today on Facebook and I'm typing on, and I go to Zillow and I go to Trulia and I go to a website that's the topic of that website is about home. It's about home refinancing, and maybe visit another website about selling my house. Facebook is collecting all of that data. So when we put an ad out on the platform, Facebook can go out and find our target prospects rather easily. And the other thing is that when I first started in the business, now everybody's spoiled, right? With Google Street View, there was no Google Street View. You had to find a guy on Craigslist to take photos, and hopefully be able to get them to send you the photos, to your email if they could figure all that out. With the technology and the tools available and DocuSign, there's no reason for you to restrict yourself and say, well, gee, I'm only going to buy houses that are, a mile away from my office, right? Because you could do the entire state, and the entire country. So they shouldn't limit you geographically. What I say is don't limit yourself geographically. And also too so now the other thing to keep in mind is that a lot of people always ask me about targeting. Well, gee, Chris, should I, how do you target? How do you find people? What do you tell Facebook? The fact of the matter is that you almost don't need to tell Facebook almost anything at all. When you create your ad, and I'll go into a minute how the type of ad that I recommend people creating. When you create your ad, you're going to have certain things you're going to say in your ad in certain ways. And when you say those things, and Facebook is going to then figure out what your business is about, and it's going to start showing your ad. And as people click on your ad and as people interact with your ad, Facebook is going to now steer that ad to the right audience. And almost by magic, then they figure out who the right prospects are. The one thing I always recommend, Ron, is that, however, and this is also a requirement, you do need to have a website. There's so many places that you can go out and for $50, and I think you might provide them too, Ron, that they can get a simple website. Yeah. I think it's important for you to have a website. The website does not have to be the same name as your page. So in other words, my page for advertising on Facebook is Chris Buys Houses, but my website is a completely different name. It's okay. Facebook is going to require a website, number one, just because they need a privacy policy, and you're going to have that on your website. Most website templates have that anyway. And also at the same time, nowadays, a website is like a business card. If somebody asks you, hey, what company are you from? Many times you could just tell them your website. And if you have a presence on Facebook, that many times is really what a property owner would want to know, that, okay, yeah, I guess you are in business because you have a website and you have a presence on Facebook, and that's really all you need.
Stop for a minute. Take a breath. I don't want you passing out on me here.
I've had 4 cups of coffee today, Rod.
Okay. Well, I got a question. Okay, so your ads, do they drive them just to your website, or do you have a phone number in there as well?
No, we don't have a phone number, actually. The way that we drive, that's a great question. So the great thing is that when we drive people to when we show people our ads, we're going to use Facebook's own internal forms. And because what happens is that when somebody sees the ad, they're going to click on a button, and then a form is going to pop up. And that form already has the prospect's information pre-populated in the form. And so they never leave Facebook, and they just click on the button, and then that lead now gets submitted to us, and then we get an email with the seller information. Now, you could have an option of, go ahead.
I'm going to give you a challenge, though.
Yes.
If I were you, I'd test putting a phone number in there, and I'd drive it to Pat Live. It's our 24-hour answering service, and they only ask 4 or 5 questions. First one is, do you have a house for sale? And then a couple more, like, where's it at, and what's a good time to call you back, and so forth, and what are you asking for? And then they send that to you directly. So the truth is, I'm not going to buy a house without talking to somebody.
Right.
So I want them to go to the phone, and I want to get on the phone with them as fast as I can. But, I'll take the form and contact them, but I let the customer decide is what I'm saying. You will be shocked how many people actually call and not use the form.
Yeah, that's a good point. We do have, we show the phone number after they submit the form, but I could definitely see how showing the phone number, because some people might be hesitant on filling out the form, and they just might want to talk to somebody right then and there, and they just want to go ahead and call the number right then and there.
And they're probably of the older generation.
Right.
Which is where a lot of your deals are going to come from.
Yes, exactly. I will provide you with the results. So, because I like what you're saying is basically right up at the front, they're right as they're filling out the form, they might just take the option of calling you, right?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
And I would make sure you put 24 hours underneath it.
Yes, 24 hours, so they know that they can call any time of the day. Okay, I will test that. And I will. It's interesting because it's like the same thing that you would do on a postcard. It's just transferring it to a different medium, but the same concepts and the same thought process does occur.
Mm-hmm. And so we let people respond the way they want to respond, not the way we think they ought to respond.
Yes, that's it's funny. I say that a lot of times when it comes to contracts. When you're selling when you're sending a seller a contract, sometimes people put an obstacle course in front of the seller. Whereas asking the seller, hey, what's the best way for me to receive that from me, for you to receive the agreement from me, and let them tell you what's the best way. Yeah. So I definitely agree with you with what you're saying, Ron.
Okay, so your ads are display ads. They're not classified ads. And I want to make it clear to everybody, you are buying them. How much do you spend a day? What's a good budget per day?
Well, the budget per day, typically what we recommend on the low end is, if you got a small budget, you can do $10 a day. We recommend a budget of $25 a day to run ads. And then generally, you're looking at a target cost per lead of about $10. The numbers that we give people is, you should go in looking to generate at least 50 leads to be able to have a chance of putting a deal together. Now that
that depends on how they handle it and how well they're trained.
Exactly.
If I had to generate 50 leads to get a deal, put a bullet in my left brain.
Well, that's a great point. That's a great point, Ron, because people always ask me that question. I said, well, I don't know how good are you on the phone, right? That's how good are you talking with sellers? Another thing
training comes in. Yeah.
Right. Also, like if you your strategy of the pretty house strategy, if you're only looking for ugly houses, then you need to speak to more sellers. But now if you can do pretty houses as well and do creative financing like you teach, then all of a sudden now you can do more with those leads.
And your ads are going to bring in both. And what? So what? You take the deal where you get it. You got to learn what kind of a deal it is. If it's ugly and it needs rehab, it's an ugly house business. But if it's not, you're going to get more beautiful home calls than you get ugly house calls because there's about 50 times more of them. So
exactly.
You've got to know the pretty house business. In other words, it's a terms deal. It's not an all-cash deal, which obviously I am favorable to because that's about 95% of my personal business.
Well, what I always say, one of the things I think about, Ron, is that if all everyone did was just learn how to do creative deals and get better on the phone, that they wouldn't even have to do any more marketing. That would solve a lot of the issues that people are having nowadays.
Well, yeah, I know an old guy they can learn that from.
I may know of one too. Maybe we'll write the names down. I'll write my name down on a piece of paper. You do, and we'll compare notes and see who it is.
Now, Chris, there might be some people listening saying, "Well, I don't want to rehab houses." Well, who cares? If you don't want to rehab them, wholesale them. You get a house under contract and put it out there on this crazy market today, it'll be gone. I mean, they'll be fighting over it. It's the hottest wholesaling market I've ever seen in my entire life. So, deal's a deal. Money's money. Right.
Well, the great thing, what I was going to say is, the great thing about this strategy is also at the same time that you're going to get a large number of leads, a variety of properties, both properties that are pretty houses and ugly houses as well. Mm-hmm. And, the better you put yourself in a position to take advantage of all the leads, the better.
Yep, correct. Transaction engineer. Take
exactly.
And make it work. Correct.
I wanted to give everybody a tip on the type of ads that you would run and how the ads would look like. And the advice that I give people is to sound like a regular human being. A lot of times sometimes when people sit down to write an ad, they go into their yelling voice, right? And now, their ad is just saying, "Hey, we buy houses cash. Sell your house for cash." It's like a big commercial. And we found is that the best ads that we create, the ones that have the most impact, are the ones that are very conversational in nature. That would say, "Hey, my name is Chris, and I'm looking to buy a few houses in the area. I just sold a couple, and I would love to have an opportunity to buy yours." So more conversational copy, a copy that also, because if you think about it, Facebook, nobody goes to Facebook to buy anything. They go out to Facebook to be entertained, to look at things from their friends, to look, to just kill time. And so you need to come.
You're going to go over this in the video anyway, in more detail?
Yes.
Let's move on down the line because we're running out of time.
Oh, okay.
We run the ad. Okay, here comes the leads. All right, what's next?
Well, once the process is very simple. Once you run the ad, once the lead comes in, it goes. You have the option of doing whatever you want with the lead. You can send it to your email, or you can send it to your CRM. You can send a text message, and then now you get the lead, and then you have to follow up with the leads. My recommendation is you call and you text message the leads, because some people are not going to pick up the phone, and some people are going to communicate with you initially by text. And then at the end of the day, then it's a simple process of sifting and sorting through the leads, figuring out who are the prospects that are motivated, that are willing to work with you based on the deals you want to do. And at the end of the day, it becomes just like every other lead source where, you're just going through the process of finding the motivated sellers and doing deals with them. Okay.
So what if I have no idea how to operate Facebook and would rather not even mess with it? What do we do?
Well, I mean, here's Facebook. It's not as difficult as people think it is. I'm a believer that you could literally sit down and within a span of 2 or 3 hours have the entire thing set up and running, even if you're not a tech ninja or wizard or anything like that. They have made the platform. Facebook is in the business of allowing small business owners, people that don't know anything about computers, to go into their platform and spend money on advertising, because that's how they make their money. So they make the platform amazingly easy. I recommend everybody begin the process. If you wanted to outsource it later on, you could do that, but at least you know the basics yourself.
All right. Well, but look, I'm old. You can't pay me enough money to go on Facebook. I don't even want to know. So what's the next best thing when you know you're not going to do it and you ask her to get somebody else to do it? We got a whole floor of virtual assistants can do it for you, but I bet you probably got a 12-year-old son or daughter that can do it for you as well.
Yeah, there's so many people that can do it for you. Exactly. You can have somebody, you can have an employee, you can have a VA. I mean, it's really not that difficult. And you can definitely have somebody else do it for you if you really don't want to do it yourself.
Okay. All right. So we got to your videos will show them what the ads look like, because we can't do it visually here now. We get them up. Now you want to, let's say I want to target particular types of, let's say I want to target, I don't know, people foreclosure or probate deals or whatever. How would I do that when I'm running my ads?
Oh, that's a great question. So there's a couple options. If you're already doing direct mail, let's say, and you have lists of prospects that you've acquired, you can easily upload those to Facebook, and you could target those individuals. So at the same time you're sending them your direct mail piece, they could also be seeing your ad on Facebook. In addition to that, in addition to that, you can upload that list of prospects and ask Facebook, hey, these are my type of customers. Can you go out and find me more people that have the same attributes as these? And Facebook will go ahead and do that as well.
Nice.
Yeah, so there's a lot of options with that.
Okay. All right. So before we run out of time, how do we get to this video training that you're offering here? Let's get that in here.
Go ahead.
What is it? thementorpodcast.com/Chico?
Yes, Chico. And then that will give you a training that will show you visually everything that we talked about here today.
All right. And I know you got a course for sale, so don't be surprised if Cris offers you that, and you should buy it if you have any interest in what we're talking about here today. So it all comes down to crank up your lead machine. And honestly, if they get this right, Cris, they probably don't need to do anything else. Would you agree?
I would agree. I mean, I've got students that are not doing anything else but this. They're not doing any direct mail or anything else, and they're just focusing on this and generating leads. And some of them all throughout the country, and are doing deals all throughout the country as well.
Well, I can tell you from vast experience, you're not going to get a lead through direct mail as cheap as you are using this program.
No, the leads are definitely going to be cheaper, and there's not that much, and there's not as much competition, in terms of direct mail versus direct mail.
So I don't have to put out signs. I don't have to do direct mail. And so all I got to do is spend a little money every day and ramp it up if I want to ramp it up, and expand my area if I want to expand my area. But caution. Generating leads is one thing, but following up on them is a totally different thing. Last thing you need on your desk is a pile of people you can't get to or not going to follow up on. So just as you need.
Yes, I would agree. I mean, that's the other thing I tell students all the time is like you're going to get some deals from leads that you generate today, but a good chunk of your deals are going to come from people that you're following up with that you contacted them, a few months ago, and now they're ready to do something.
Yep. All right. So, is there anything else you want to tell our listeners here before they go to?
No, I go back to, listen, everybody's online. I'm a believer that, as an investor, you're a business owner, you need to learn how to advertise online. And right now we're having tremendous success. Even if whatever happens in the future, if you learn the fundamentals of online advertising, you can use that on any other platform. So I would say at the very least, you should have a presence on Facebook. So I would encourage everybody to take a look at the training that I have on the link that you provided. It is valuable training. I go through the whole process step by step. And like Ron said, I do have courses available, but the training is valuable on its own because you're going to see for yourself exactly how it all works. And it's a great lead source right now for a lot of investors.
All right, and for all of you folks that are listening that are really not investors yet, but think you want to be, or those who are listening that are investors yet, now if you want to learn what to do with these leads when you get them, you'll come see Papa. So you can go on thementorpodcast.com, and you will find my book there called How to Be a Quick to Start Real Estate Millionaire in Any Economy. And you'll also find an online training where I go through how we do the pretty house business today. And frankly, ronlegrand.com has got just about anything and everything you want on it. It's a massive website. So the first step of any business is locating prospects. And without that step being done, the other 4 steps don't matter. So when we locate prospects, great, as long as we know how to handle them when we locate them. Not that difficult to learn, but while you're creating them, you better continue learning what to do with them, or it's all just a waste anyway. I hate to see people spend money to generate leads and just let them sit there because they don't know what to do with them. So the opportunity that Cris has given you today will change a lot of businesses. And by the way, I'm going to do it. I have not been doing it. We're going to do it. So I don't need to know whether it works. I already know several people already doing it. So anyway, go get the video. Let's do it again. thementorpodcast.com/Chico, CHICO, and get his free training. And you can decide if you want to upgrade from there. All right. Well, Cris, this has been very educational.
Well, perfect. Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity, Ron. Really appreciate it.
All right. So thank you for taking the time to spend with us, and thank you everybody else for listening. I'll see you on the next The Mentor Podcast.
That's all for this edition of the Mentor Podcast. To connect with Ron and learn how you can attain financial freedom, as well as up-to-date strategies to grow and protect your wealth based on today's discussion, go to www.connectwiththementor.com.